So I'm going to try my best to not be too hyperbolic when I say that Figment 2, Creed Valley, might be one of the most enjoyable games I've played in a very long time. I don't mean that from the story aspect or the combat or any of those mechanics that you can simply put into a box. I just mean outright enjoyable. Like, put a smile on my face. This game did a lot in that regard, and it's intangible. I can't exactly explain every reason why this game gave me a legitimate smile, but I'm gonna try. I'm Nima from NGC Gaming. Let's talk about Figment 2. So, I have to say that this game has a very basic combat style that honestly is just enjoyable. It's not overcomplicated in the slightest. In fact, I would most compare it to like a Legend of Zelda combat style. That kind of almost hack slash roll mechanic. Most of it has to just do with avoiding being hit and also hitting an enemy. There's not much more past it than that, and that's really all this game needs. And for me personally, that's about all any action game needs. I don't need an overly complicated combat system or anything like that. Even though I do love my RPGs and tactical RPGs and all that kind of stuff, I really like just your kind of basic Legend of Zelda combat, and that's what this game offers. Where the complexity of this game really grows is the story. There's a lot to it. It almost would be like the Toy Story 3 of games. You're enjoying the ride, you're enjoying the experience of the game, and then you start to realize, oh, there's a lot deeper meaning going on. But it's not as bad as realizing that not only did Andy grow up and forget about the toys, we were growing up as well. No, it's not nearly that emotional, and thank God, honestly. I didn't need that. I really enjoyed the fact that this game was lighthearted and stayed lighthearted, but did have a really interesting deep dive experience on the human psyche and why we act the way we do. Now, ultimately, the story of this game is told in two ways. You have the two main characters, Piper and Dusty. Now, neither one of them are really easy to explain what they are. They are beings that live inside of a mind, right? Dusty is like an anthropomorphized kind of cat creature? I don't know. And Piper is more like a bird. Both can talk, both are incredibly intelligent. Well, at least for, our purposes. Not saying like they're out there doing physics or something, but they're sentient, we'll put it that way. The whole story, though, is that they're kind of like the fixers of the mind. When something is going on in the mind, they're the ones that go out and fix it. And most of the time, it's in a really fun way of beating it till it's finally into submission and you fix the problem. But in a lot of ways, this game is also a puzzle solving game, and there's a ton of incredibly fun puzzles and different little game modes to play while you're in this experience. Now, one of them that I truly enjoyed was this like detective type style, where you're trying to find out all the weapons that were used, identify the possible suspects, and the location and time at which this happened, and you kind of got to break it down and figure out, okay, who did it and how and whatever. And it's a really quick little game that is integrated perfectly into your main game, so it doesn't feel like you're playing something else, it's just offering more variety. But as this game goes on, you find Dusty being more of the one who's just looking to basically hit things with his sword, and Piper, the more open-minded one. And that is really the tale of this game, open-minded versus closed-minded. And it's not just our two protagonists that have this identity about them, it's actually the entire world. As there is a mechanic where you hit this kind of totem, and it will change the entire world from either being closed-minded or open-minded. You have to use this at every point in the game to solve puzzles and to move further into the game. But it also is teaching us a really valuable lesson. You see, like, closed-minded does get the job done, but only by overcoming obstacles that one has to be open-minded enough to be able to process and to fully comprehend every solution that's available. And again, that is the recurring theme of this game. And as I said, that is one side of the story. Now, as you are Dusty and Piper, you can actually have two players in this game, which is pretty cool. And you're basically trying to fix this major problem that is going on inside of this human mind. The main goal is basically chasing down this jester. He's kind of your main antagonist. It's hard to explain, I'm not going to get too much into it. But the other story of it is about a family who's buying a house, making choices that are pretty big, and how it's affecting the family as a whole, and how it is the dad's mind that you're in right now. And that's the one you're trying trying to fix, because this is a man who is very dedicated at bringing his family something he can be proud of, to finally call himself a man. But at the same time, he's taking away their most valuable asset, so to speak. And it's him. They love him. They want him to be home, not always at work. And the family itself is starting to crumble because of his neglect and his lack of interest in their lives to be able to bring them something he thinks they will truly value. Now, this is a really cool story, honestly, and as you play out, you'll find more and more answers, and you'll find out how this whole situation came to be. And as you're Dusty and Piper, just trying to help him realize the solution to his problems, and maybe figure out what he's been missing for a very long time. And to be honest, I'm not trying to ruin the story, because that is a huge chunk of this game, but I did want to at least give you guys an idea of the multifaceted world that you're getting into when you're playing Figment 2. Now, on to performance, because I think this is where I had the most issue with the game. Now, there was a few little, I'm going to say snags, a little bit of lag here or there. It's very slight, and it's not something that becomes an issue, but there is a little bit of a stability that does need to be addressed. But my big issue with the game actually was soft locks. I had this happen more than once, where I would be doing something and I don't know, it's hard to explain exactly what would happen, but it would almost be like I would do something that wouldn't be typically done. For instance, like I would open a journal and then end up having to pause the game, and then the Switch itself would go to sleep, and then when I tried to come back out, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get out of the pause menu, and I had to restart the game. Or there was a couple times when I had hit the same button over and over, and that had actually soft locked the game. There's just certain instances like that did occur. And all of these issues did happen exclusively at the end of the game, or towards the end of the game, but thanks to the game's autosave, I really didn't lose any progress, or it wasn't really a big issue. It's just something that was there and that I noted over and over, I think about 4 times, which isn't problematic really, but it can be. You know, again, thanks to the autosave, it really just killed momentum a little bit in the game, but didn't actually take any time away. As you can see with some games where there is no autosave, there is no save, you could lose hours, but no, not the case here. Maybe you lose a minute or so at most. So that's the worst part about this game. What's the best part? I know what you're thinking. It's the story, right? It's the mechanics of the different puzzles and things of that nature, correct? No, actually the music, which is crazy for me to say this, because we all know I'm not like the best when it comes to video game music. Most of the time, I don't even play with the volume up. And not because I don't enjoy it, I usually can't. But this game, wow. It had the charm of a big Pixar film with the musical numbers and everything. Except for the music, really was awesome in this game. Like, it wasn't all just like whimsical and, you know, or poppy or sad or emotional. No, like there's some rather heavy songs in there as well, like hard rock type style. I enjoyed everything about the music of this game. Everything from just the way that the songs themselves would tell a story, to the fact that there is probably only like 3 songs that happen throughout the game. So it's not something that is used multiple times, and it kind of doesn't, you know, it loses its luster when you're seeing something over and over. No, there's only like 2 or 3 times this happens, but it really adds to the story and adds to the world. Ultimately, I've got to say, like, I really enjoyed this game. It's surprising that it was made with the Unity engine. I always forget the capabilities of the Unity engine. For those of you who don't know, it's something that, well, pretty much anyone can mess with. My son makes games in the Unity engine, so seeing this beautiful magical world that they created and characters that just pop out of the screen, everything from the way that their facial expressions are to just how they act in general is incredibly charming and really brings the character to life. Ultimately, if I was to give this game a score, I would give it a 9 out of 10. The only concern that I would have is the game's length, which for me is perfect. I think that this is like what I strive for, is that 5 to maybe 7 hour game. But for a lot of people, I can see that being way too short. So that's why I would give it the knock of 1 point to a 9 out of 10. It is very close to being a perfect game, though. I really enjoyed this game. It is so much fun. Let me know if you guys are interested in picking it up, or if you played the first one. See, I didn't. I bought it, but I never actually played it. I was excited when I saw Figment 2 pop up in like a direct for indie or something like that. And so I actually bought the first one and then just never got around to it. But so glad that I got to check it out. But let me know your thoughts on it, anything and everything down below. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you did enjoy enjoy it, please think about subscribing, liking, doing all that. We're under 200 away from hitting 1,000, which is pretty epic, honestly. But again, I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.